Another Bears game, another Bears loss, and another heartbreak for Chicago Bears fans with how this game ended. We're going to talk about the players that stood out the most, some of the good things to take away from this game, but more importantly, we're going to get into some of your guys' comments and thoughts from the game in the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all, man. And I want to start off talking about, this, of course, the Bears loss sucked. And once again, bad decisions for Matt Eberflus. Down the stretch of this game, and the Bears making mistakes on both sides of the ball. This was a game in which there was a winnable game from the Bears, even with some of those mistakes. The defense gave up a lot of big plays on the Packers' last drive, which led to them being able to get into the end zone. They did make a stop on the 2-point conversion, but just ultimately, like a lot of mistakes were made, right? And then you look at the offensive drive and the 2 sacks Caleb Williams took early. Now, I think that he performed pretty good on the rest of that drive outside of those 2 sacks, which I will say, those last 2 sacks, those were on Caleb Williams. So, in my opinion, those were on Caleb Williams. And then, of course, it all culminates in a situation where you have a 46-yard field goal and, you run off some of the clock, right? And Matt Eberflus said after the game basically exactly what I thought Matt Eberflus would say after the game. And if you guys, I'm not sure if you go and follow me over on Bleacher Report as well. When I was live there, I predicted what Matt Eberflus was going to say in the post game interview, and he said basically exactly that. There was a loaded box there. You could say you could run another play and try for a couple of yards there, but you risk a fumble. He said he was confident with where they were on the field, and the thing is, and we had a heated debate in this, and he was led by Bobby and Steve. I had to come in after the Bleacher Report live stream that I did. And what I think everybody was trying to get at was all different things, right? Like C-Dub was adamant on the fact that the Bears should have ran it when they had more than a minute left on the clock, which agreeable. Steve-O was in the sense of not trusting the offensive line, which I think you got to trust it one way or another, right? Even if you're trying to move plays a little bit more. Bobby was on the thing of running off the clock, and I was set in the place where regardless of the calling the timeout or not, right? I do think that the Bears, them running with the play with Roschon. Now after that, like and I don't want to speak for C-Dub, but C-Dub was before that. Like the Green Bay called a timeout. He felt the Bears should have called that timeout before Green Bay to leave about a minute off the clock. Now, when the Bears had the opportunity to run with Roschon, they ran with Roschon, but you believe they gained 3 yards. There's still a few seconds left on the clock where the Bears could immediately call the timeout and try to run it again. You run some problems there for whatever it's worth. But at the end of the day, it just comes down to, again, Matt Eberflus, just situational unawareness. It continues to be a thing for Matt Eberflus. And again, this is another sign that it's time for Matt Eberflus to go. I've said it before. Matt Eberflus, if he was the defensive coordinator, I think he'd be a great defensive coordinator, not just a good. I honestly think Matt Eberflus would be a great DC. I think wherever he goes on after this, if he goes on and is a DC, I think he has the chance to be a great DC. But as a head coach, he just lacks a lot of the accountability, a lot of the awareness, a lot of the kind of tough decision-making as well. And I think that's what it comes down to with this team. I just think it comes down to that when Matt Eberflus' situational awareness and his awareness as a coach, it just comes down to he keeps making dumb mistakes. And that just is what it is. And ultimately, it did end on a field goal. And a lot of people have looked at it and said, well, should there have been a leverage play call there, a penalty call there? And maybe it should have been. But, it ends on a botched field goal attempt, a blocked field goal attempt. And that's where we just sit right now. One point shy of a win against the rivals Green Bay Packers that we haven't beat in 6 years and are on our home field. Now, I will say this, right? there are some definite positives to take away from this game, and that's what we're going to get into. We're going to get into a lot of the bad as well, but you got to give Caleb Williams 23 of 31, 231 yards, a 95 passer rating. Yes, he didn't throw a touchdown, but he did lead 2 touchdown drives. On top of that, he didn't throw any interceptions as well in that. He also had 9 carries for 70 yards. When you look at the way that Caleb Williams helped extended drives, the confidence that he played with for the majority of this game, and the way he deliberately got the ball out quick. This was Thomas Brown and Caleb Williams were the 2 people that I want to talk about the most here because they made big decisions here. Thomas Brown seems like he more understood than Shane Waldron the limitations of what the Chicago Bears offensive line was and how to overcome that by making quick throws, getting the ball out quickly to your players, getting the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands. When he was closer to 2 seconds as far as a release, the Bears were rocking and rolling. Also, Caleb Williams, the recognition that he had to not stand in there and try to wait for a big play to go downfield, which is something that he's done throughout this season, and especially in his struggles, and make a decision quickly to go with his legs and make plays with his legs, extend drives with his legs, get first downs in times where the play could have very well been broken, right? And so that ability to do that was a big plus in this Bears team and a big step in the right direction. Now, does it fix everything? No, I'm not saying that. But at least Thomas Brown right now, through this one game that we see, it was the right decision to move into Thomas Brown into being the play caller because, again, intentionality was the one thing I was looking the most for from Thomas Brown, and we got that in yesterday's game. He was very intentional about how he used the plays, how he used the players, and trying to put the ball in the hands of his weapons, and that's what we talked about. You look at the DJ Moore, how many plays he had to make with his legs after getting the ball. We put the ball in his hands and let them go out and make it, as well as Rome Odunze. Rome Odunze keeps being, like, drafting Rome Odunze was not a problem. Not deciding to invest more in your offensive line if that's where you knew where you were going to go, especially in trading for Keenan Allen. But you look at Rome Odunze and the way that he played in this game with 6 catches, 65 yards. That was another big positive for the Chicago Bears team that really made a big deal for this Bears team, absolutely. But then also, one of the things that Thomas Brown did that was intentional as well is that we had a balance between DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson on the ground. You look at it, it was mainly Swift and just having a Roschon in there in specific situations, mainly just in short yard situations. But with Thomas Brown, it looked like he used both backs fairly well. You had Swift with 14 carries, 71 yards, 5.1 yards per carry. And then you had Roschon Johnson had 10 carries for 33 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Easier math to do there. And they both scored a touchdown as well. So listen, it's the balance there was a lot better. Again, the intentionality to use your guys was a lot better there. And so that was a big plus. In needing this offense to really start to try to turn a corner and to be better, the Chicago Bears offense looked like it's better than any other point in time where you can say 179 yards on the ground. And yes, 70 of those came from Caleb Williams, but still. And we saw even some designed runs for Caleb Williams in that time. You look at Cole Kmet, 3 targets for 42 yards. He had 3 receptions in the 3 games after the bye week. DJ Moore, 7 targets, 7 receptions. Keenan Allen, 4 receptions on 8 targets, right? So we struck a nice balance in this game. And, you know, if we had this type of offensive performance in the last 3 games prior to this Green Bay game with how the defense played, the Bears may have won 2, maybe all 3 of those games. So it's a step in the right direction. But that doesn't mean that everything's fixed. It's not fixed, and they can't rest on this. They got to find out a way to build on top of this and then take it to the next level. Again, you got to keep improving, and that's what we need from this offense. That's what Thomas Brown is tasked with, is finding a way to now keep this offense in rhythm. You made a good decision. You made some good decisions in this game. There were still some head-scratching ones as well in some plays with crossing routes in the end zone and things like that, but it wasn't a perfect game called by Thomas Brown, but it was considerably better than what we got out of Shane Waldron. And there was a reason why Thomas Brown was one of the finalists when he interviewed with the Bears for the offensive coordinator position. So, he's playing with house money for the rest of the season. Whatever happens, he's going to get it. Like Matt Eberflus is probably going to be fired. He's going to get an opportunity to interview elsewhere. But I'll tell you what, if Ben Johnson does end up taking over this team as the head coach, if you got a guy like Thomas Brown there, as much like with Eric Washington and Matt Eberflus. How Eric Washington is the defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus is still calling those plays, but they still work in tandem, right? In that, maybe Thomas Brown can make a case for himself to stay on. Now, I'm sure Ben Johnson's probably going to already have some people, and it's not a guarantee Ben Johnson is the next head coach of the Chicago Bears anyway. I want to be clear on that. But maybe Thomas Brown can make a case for himself in that way. But I saw a lot of things from this offense that really did look like they were big improvements overall from this team, and you love to see that as well. One of the downsides of this team, and I got to give Jalen Johnson, this was not a good game from Jalen Johnson. It just wasn't. And, he fell down on a play, and I think that was the perfect, it encapsulates perfectly how this game went, not only for the Bears, but for him in a lot of ways. And we need Jalen Johnson, especially when because the pass rush was bad as well. Like the Bears pass rush, we missed a lot of opportunities where we did have, and we forced Jordan Love out the pocket and things like that. We had 1 sack against them. 1 sack, and that came from DeMarcus Walker on top of that. We allowed Jordan Love to get comfortable. And the thing that I said about it before is that we had to make Jordan Love uncomfortable. You look at 60-yard completion to Christian Watson. Listen, we were in a position to win the game at that point in time. That was huge. And I don't want to put it all on the defense because, like I said, there were some mistakes made all throughout the game. But the defense, in a time where we've been able to really bet on that defense, they let us down in the fourth quarter. And the pass rush was a big part of that. We got to get better. And I know that Andrew Billings is not there. We know that Montez Sweat has been on the injury report basically all week. It was a game time decision to go for this game. But we needed better from our pass rush. And the pass rush paired with Jalen Johnson, and like I said, there's always a synergistic relationship between your pass coverage and your pass rush. And that was evident more so than anything in yesterday's game against the Green Bay Packers. So those two things definitely were something that hurt this team in the production and everything in yesterday's game. And you just can't overlook that. But then also Matt Pryor. Now, Matt Pryor did switch positions when it came down to it. And unfortunately, he had a tough game yesterday. Braxton Jones actually made one of the biggest plays of his career on a block that ended up leading to a touchdown by DeAndre Swift. But outside of that, Matt Pryor, he had a rough game yesterday. But he had a very rough game. But the biggest loss, as far as just aspect of this team that was bad, continues to be Matt Eberflus. It's year 3 of Matt Eberflus. He's still making rookie level head coaches mistakes, and it just comes down to it. Matt Eberflus is just bad. He's just a bad head coach, and that's what it comes down to. Also on top of the ball being on the wrong side than Cario Santos, even though Cario Santos rocked with Matt Eberflus on that decision. At the end of the day, Matt Eberflus' situational awareness keeps being something that holds this Chicago Bears team back, and it's something that's going to continue to hold this team back as long as he's the head coach. It's not going to get any better. Matt Eberflus was one of the biggest problems for the Chicago Bears in this game, and he continues to be that, and it's probably not going to change any freaking time soon, and it's unfortunate, but that's where the Chicago Bears are. That's where we're going to continue to be, and until that change is made at head coach, a lot of struggles are going to continue for this Bears team, and we just got to see where it's going to be at that point in time. But overall, like I said, some positives to take away from this game, negatives, of course, to take away in a loss against the Green Bay Packers, and we'll see how this team can use what they did well in this game and try to build off of it. That's all you can ask to do at this point. Many people are saying the Bears season is over with, and they're probably right, but you still got some things that you still got a rookie quarterback. You still got things that you want to improve on, and there's no reason to tuck your tail and hide at this point. You might as well see this season through and see where you can get the season and try to eke out the most wins possible, and we'll see how this team competes. I mean, some people could say that maybe tanking is a better thing now for the Bears on the back half of the season, and I guess we'll see where that's going to go. All right, we got 3 voicemails I want to get into. This one's from Tonio.
Hey, Tonio calling in from Georgia, fresh off of work. I watched the game with an open thought of Thomas Brown is doing exactly what he should have been doing, which is calling plays. We should have hired him as the coordinator from the start. I get, at the end of the day, Coach Eberflus is going to do what he thinks is best. But my question is, who is the responsible party in regards to who decides to go for or not go for, a couple more yards? Like, is Thomas Brown saying, hey, let's run a call, or we're good right here? Like, the analytics say, this is a good idea to, stop for Santos to get his kick in. I just wanted to know not necessarily who to blame, but at that point, where does the coach say, okay, hey, we're good here? Or, how does that work? Because I get that, Thomas is making the play calls and everything, but if Eberflus override the call, say, hey, I want this instead, or what goes into effect, and how do we determine who's saying this is good or let's get a couple play calls in? Because who's to say Brown didn't want to make a couple more plays, or he said, hey, we're good here, and vice versa. I just wanted to know who gets that credit, or how does that actually, come into the final decision. Outside of that, I'm not hurt, but at the same time, I like that the Bears made progress. Everybody got the ball. Everybody. So let's build on it. Shot time up. Bear down.
Thomas Brown calling plays. And I will also say this, Thomas Brown being up in that box calling plays is something that actually early in the season people asked, should that be something that Shane Waldron looks to do to get a different perspective? And maybe that also helped Thomas Brown some up there. Maybe that's just where he was more comfortable at. But listen, Thomas Brown calling plays was solid enough for me in this game, and it's not something I look at and say was the huge negative as well. And I think, calling another play, calling, I don't necessarily know if the play call, the way and every coaching staff does it differently. I do think the decision to call a timeout or not comes down to Matt Eberflus, and then at that point, their own headset, so they're talking about like what type of play do they want to run? Do they want to run it up the middle? Do they want to run it through the tackles? Whatever that type of thing is. And then ultimately the play call is probably on Thomas Brown. But as far as the decision to not call a timeout, which is kind of the biggest talking point here, that does come down to Matt Eberflus. He's the guy that decides that. And, it was, again, another situational loss for Matt Eberflus. And it keeps being another one, and it keeps being another one. And, at some point, we just got to understand it's time for Matt Eberflus to go. I understand that it's probably not going to happen until the end of the season, but that doesn't change the fact that it's time. It's time. Matt Eberflus' time as the head coach of the Bears needs to come to an end. We got to move the fuck on. We got to move on, at least in my opinion. All right, let's get into the next voicemail. This one's from Keys.
Yo, what's up, fellas? It's Keys, man. Hope you guys enjoying the rest of your Sunday. Watching the game today, it was a huge improvement from Shane Waldron to Thomas Brown. I love the way he identified where we need to run the ball and use our running backs. I felt like we could have used Swift a little bit more at the end of the game, but I wasn't mad that Roshan was in, but at the same time, your money guys need to be in the game. So a lot of people are going to criticize Flus for that last sequence, and I understand it completely. You want them to be more aggressive to get more yards, but I think what people fail to realize is it's a difference in the line play of Green Bay and Chicago. And that's why I think we really lost the game today. Our D-line, although we may have gotten one sack on Jordan Love, there were ample of opportunities to get him down and collapse the pocket, which I felt like we didn't do. And then offensive line, they played actually probably their best game. Those two sacks at the end Caleb took, I would put that on him, but he made it up, making plays towards the end. With the big plays to Rome, and then the fourth down play, which put us in position. So it's not much more you can ask Caleb to do. Would I have loved to see him throw for one more touchdown? Absolutely. But the type of team that we have, it's like it's putting in all the pieces together. We just got to learn how to finish. And, everybody said, oh, we should have been more aggressive. The time was on our side, which, I didn't want them to fumble the ball because we have been prone to make big plays, and then we lose the ball. I'm putting it more on our line. We have to be better. That end sequence of that field goal, you got two guys and Larry Borum and Matt Pryor who are backups, and I know we down bodies, but, you got to be stout, and, they have to be more aggressive, and they got to play more aggressive up front, and that's all I got, man. So let me know what you think. Shot-town up.
Yeah, definitely improvement from Waldron and Thomas Brown. You can see that in just this one game. There was a definite improvement. The intentionality is the way that I'm using to word it, but it was a definite improvement, and you love to see it, right? The D-line, and that's why I put the D-line and the pass rush on my negatives for this game, because they did not take advantage of the opportunities that were ahead of them. They didn't put pressure on Jordan Love when we needed it the most, and overall the defense gave up big plays, right? It's not just like they gave up a big drive. They gave up huge plays that completely changed the complexity of the end of that game. And it's not all on them, but they did that. That is something that happened, and you got to look at that and wonder, all right, where are things going to get better for this team? Because they do need to get better. And let's hope that we can get to that point at some point in time. As far as the 2 sacks on the final drive, yeah. I mean, but he did play much better after those 2 sacks. But those were Caleb Williams sacks. Those were his fault. At least, like I said, that's my opinion on it. I'm sure not everybody has that exact same opinion, but that would be my opinion on it, is that those were sacks that he didn't have to take. But he learned from that on the fly, right in that same drive he learned from it. Otherwise, it's a really good drive by Caleb Williams. We just got to execute better down the stretch. All right, let's get into this last voicemail. This one's from Ant.
Yo, what up, fellas? It's your boy Ant. Just listening to y'all post-game show. You know what I'm saying? Everybody visibly and you know what I'm saying, honestly upset. Y'all have a right to be. Everybody got a right to be that's a fan of this team. But I think what y'all missing, not to get on somebody, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to get roasted by Hayes, you know what I'm saying? But what was missing from the conversation is the fact that everybody was right. And this is not me trying to, you know what I'm saying, take offense, take any side. But Bobby was right when he said players need to execute. That's just point blank, period. Players need to execute. Steve-O was right when he said the line don't execute. The line ain't executed all season. Dub was right when he said that we should get closer because of the trajectory of the kick would have been a lot better for the Bears at the end of the game. A 46-yard kick, obviously with Santos, that's close to his, you know what I'm saying, his range. He's going to kick it lower so he can get the distance. He's not like a Justin Tucker who can kick it high on dang near every kick and still get the distance. But if you give him, say, like a 35 to 38-yard field goal, we seen that's when Santos get those high kicks. Everybody was right in that situation. You know what I'm saying? The thing that upsets me, where everybody is absolutely right, is the handling of the clock at the end of the game. I get it. We could have done this, that, and the third, you know what I'm saying, had opportunities for this or that, and we missed this, and we could have turned the ball over, but the fact of the matter is Rojo was running hard, and he ain't come close to losing the ball. You know what I mean? I get not throwing the ball in that situation because we ain't trying to stop the clock, and we don't want Caleb to, you know what I'm saying, get sacked to get us out of field goal range or, you know what I'm saying, throw an interception or something like that. So I'm not saying we should have threw the ball because that's not the thing. Running the ball would have been a safer bet to a toss Swift on the outside, let him run out of bounds and stuff like that. We was getting those runs all game, you know what I'm saying? We was doing that. I don't like the fact that when it comes to crunch time or when it comes to a chance for us to win the game, we don't play to win the damn game. Eberflus have us passive as shit. He don't play to win the fucking game. You had them on the heels. They was going back. Caleb Guest got sacked in the first two plays, and we're like, here we go again. But those next two plays in that 2 minutes, Caleb was shining. That pass to Jerome when he rolled out, great fucking play. That you know what I'm saying, that lob Jerome, great fucking play. The throw to Keeney, great fucking play. Let's run the ball. We should have kept being aggressive. We had them on their heels, and we backed off. We play like Chihuahuas instead of like Bears, and that's what I'm mad at when it comes to Eberflus. I'm done. You're a defensive coach. You should attack. And our defense gave us some big plays, but understand they played great for 9 games. They tired now. We need to give them some rest. Offense playing better. We need to do better.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things, and thank you for your perspective on that, Ant. Sometimes when, as brothers, we get on and we kind of all debate that, it all comes down to, you need a third perspective. And everybody was upset. Like, I think more than anything, everybody was pissed off about where the team was and how that game finished for the Bears. It sucks. I know that's kind of oversimplification to just say it sucks, but it does. It just sucks how that game ended for the Bears. And Flus is not playing to win the game. He's playing not to lose. And when you do that, you end up losing. Scared money don't make money, right? And that is Matt Eberflus. His time with the Chicago Bears, scared money. That would be if he came out with the autobiography during his time with the Chicago Bears, it should be titled Scared Money if he has the right perspective on it. Scared money. Because that's what Matt Eberflus' time here has been with the Chicago Bears. It's been scared money. And it just is what it is. It's time for the Matt Eberflus experiment to end. We'll see what comes of it and what the Bears and Ryan Poles have planned for the future. But that's my time for today. I love you guys, man. Make sure you guys are following the channel at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related. And like we like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.